Live from the 607, it's the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking everything going on in the world of sports. Join in the conversation on social media with the hashtag ODPH, because here we go.
Instead of looking deep inside, every word I have to say, keep it simple.
Welcome back for an all-new edition of the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. What is going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining us this week. My name is Ken M. Joining me in studio, as always, you know him. He is the co-host. His name is Padawan J.
Hello, hello, hello.
And conspicuous by his absence, the senior sports editor of the ODPH. He is your coach. He is my coach. He is the coach, Coach Duffy, who we hear is sitting outside Madison Square Garden trying to get in.
Yep.
Because he heard the egregious comments of Chris Capella.
Yeah.
And he wants to address
He wants
him.
to smoke.
He wants to smoke. Because, man, oh, man, there's a lot going on in the land of sports, so we definitely have to break it down to you as only the ODPH panel can. So it's definitely join in the conversation with us on social media. Swing on over to odphpodcast.com. Join in on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Podchaser. Drop a 5-star review while you're there. Check out the TeePublic store and so much more. And always remember to use the hashtag ODPHpod. But before we get into the NBA, there was an event this week that we definitely had a vested interest here at the entire 607 podcast family.
Well, you had a vested interest in.
I had a vested interest in.
I was watching the McFoley A&E biography, which was amazing, by the way.
It definitely was. The biographies they're doing on A&E for the WWE is truly, truly some great work. I do love them. Comparing them to Dark Side of the Ring is always a kind of fun compare-contrast.
Yeah, and I can say I've seen the Ultimate Warrior A&E biography, and I've seen the Dark Side of the Ring biography, or about Dark Side of the Ring. It's hard to say one's better than the other. It feels like two parts of the same cookie. You know, it's just kind of like, you know, the A&E biography one gets a little more in-depth into it just because it was 2 hours, whereas Dark Side of the Ring was, you know, an hour. But it definitely, like, there is some stuff added. It feels like, you know, the little, you know, whatever they're called at the back of a book where it's like, you know, little added index.
Footnotes.
Footnotes, you know, a little added information for, like, I'm thinking like Lord of the Rings books where like the timelines and the family histories and like all the stuff's added into the end of the Lord of the Rings books, you know, because the Dark Side of the Ring delved into some of the stuff they went into with the A&E biography and some stuff they took a different view of it for obvious reasons.
Well, Dark Side of the Ring, if anybody doesn't watch on Vice, is truly an interesting program.
Oh, yeah.
They definitely are not afraid to deep dive into subjects that don't really get a lot of mainstream press.
Yeah.
Or if they do, you don't really get the whole behind the scenes for it.
No, and they don't take the kind of rosy, rose-colored glasses look at things all the time.
Right. So I do like them a little better than the A&E biographies. Because I think they go from a more unbiased opinion.
Yeah, no, they do. Just because you look at the way they presented certain things with it, specifically with the Ultimate Warrior on the A&E biography, which had a very heavy WWE presence in it. You can't say otherwise. And then you look at where they took it from the Dark Side of the Ring thing, no, they were a little more unbiased with it.
They definitely are, so you definitely want to check that out. And as Pad made his choice to watch the A&E biography, and I'm not mad at him about that, the rest of us at 607 Podcast decided to take our venture to AEW Double or Nothing.
You say, boy, was it an adventure.
Oh, it was an adventure, and if you haven't seen the replay of the live reactions on Twitch yet, you are missing out on some amazing content. Definitely want to shout out Big Natty Cool, Mike C. from Horror Zone 607, who was in the building. First time ever on stream, and we definitely need to have him back for more. And, of course, Rich from 3FN, and definitely everybody who chimed in on the chats. Special shout out to Lou from Pina Comics. We had a rockin' chat going on for this because for AEW, this was a big moment.
Yeah.
And we talk about this all the time on 607 TWS every Thursday on twitch.tv/607 podcast, where AEW, we don't ever know what we're going to get from them.
Could be a steaming pile of shit. It could be the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Right. So as we were going into this pay-per-view this past Sunday, this was going to be the first one they've had a full house attendance since COVID has happened. This is one of their biggest pay-per-views, if not their biggest. You can kind of debate between All Out. I think All Out is their biggest pay-per-view.
It's hard to say just because they've got so few pay-per-views, it feels like, you know, that it's hard to say. It's hard, unlike with WWE, where it's like, okay, you've got the big three, big four, however you want to look at it. And then there's a couple other, you know, kind of, I don't want to say B shows, but it's like A- shows. They're still fairly big. And then you got some other ones floating in there. They're like, oh, yeah, okay. But you have those clearly established, you know, pillars of the pay-per-view schedule. AEW, it's kind of like, yeah, you've got some, pay-per-views you recognize the names of, Double or Nothing, All Out, but it's kind of like outside that, it's hard to say.
Well, they do such a unique way of building towards it, and they do space them out that they only run 4 a year in comparison to WWE, who does a pay-per-view a month, usually.
Yeah.
So in the comparison and contrast, that AEW wants to make it more special, more standout.
Yeah.
And Double or Nothing was the first pay-per-view we got from this company. You can argue All In, but that wasn't a real AEW pay-per-view. But then again, that did spawn the idea of All Elite Wrestling.
I'll say All In was just kind of like the Bucks and the Cody and the Elite, I guess you could say, proving they could do it.
Oh, it was like on a dare that they think that nobody thought they could run. And obviously at the time, All In, they got in a plethora of independent pro wrestling talent.
Oh, yeah.
That has never been mixed and matched like that before.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I'm not sure if they've said it now, but I would imagine at some point, if they haven't said it already, down the road, that like a book comes out about like AEW's founding, the sentence isn't put in the book or biography or whatever saying that All In was a dry run for AEW.
Oh, it's going to be in there. Like we talk about biographies in Dark Side of the Ring. I guarantee you at some point we're going to have one about AEW. I'm locking that in. But we get to their pay-per-view this past Sunday, and like we say, Double or Nothing is arguably one of their big two, depending on how you want to look at it. And for the first time being in front of fans, there was a lot of expectations going into this. So we are going to be going and giving our reviews of the card. Pad definitely has got some opinions. I've got some opinions about this as well. So let's kick it off and talk AEW Double or Nothing 2021, Pad.
Yeah, so the first match took place on the pre-show, and it was for the NWA women's title, where champion Serena Deeb defeated Riho by a submission.
Great match. I really enjoyed this match. I got to see it before it went over to BR Live.
Sure.
They were running this on their massive social media accounts, which, I mean, that's one thing that if you are into AEW, you either love or hate, is they have their access all over the place, where you can go check YouTube, you check Facebook, you can check BR Live, Fight TV. They definitely have your gamut covered about showing their card.
Yeah.
And this was no doubt a definite great way to start the match. First one to really get the crowd excited. I thought it was a very well done match. It was great seeing Riho back in, definitely doing a lot of crazy stuff. And I thought at one point she blew her knee out.
Oh.
But Serena Deeb gets the W, retaining the NWA women's title. And we kicked right off into the main show from there.
Yeah, so the first match on the main show was between Brian Cage and Adam Page. Good luck. You might get a tongue twister there.
Yeah.
But Adam Page emerged victorious, defeating Brian Cage via pinfall.
Yeah, this was a great match, too, to really continue the momentum going. Hangman Adam Page,
Does it feel like the wheels have fallen off on this guy?
Yes.
The horse has run away from the cart?
Yes and no.
Because, now, admittedly, said it before, say it again, I am not an AEW viewer, but I just feel like with everything I've heard you say and Rich say, and even Coach mentioned that, it felt like they were strapping a rocket to this kid, and they were going to make him the next best thing since, insert your favorite wrestler over the past 30 years. But now it's kind of like you've gone from, for me, the outside viewer, going, oh yeah, the Adam Page, I've heard of you, I've seen the gimmick, I'm familiar with it, you're going to be the next big thing, the next thing they're going to push at some point down the road, to you're opening the card.
Like I say, it's yes and no. The one argument that you can make about AEW is WWE lives rent-free in their head.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
And for a lot of the upper brass that is there, they keep saying that, we're the new alternative, we're making new stars, we're really pushing everything in a new direction. And you really have to kind of take a look at somebody like Adam Page, who is so over with their crowd.
Right.
And he should be pushed right to the top of the card, along with MJF, along with your Orange Cassidys, the ones that are not coming from the WWE. They are established stars via the independents.
Yeah.
And I think that for them being such young talent, AEW has not really pushed them as well as they could.
Right.
And you can say with Adam Page, it's like, yeah, he was in the title picture right when it started, AEW, but now you're kind of lost in the shuffle.
Right, and then he split off from the Elite, and he was going to go off on his own, and everyone's, because while I don't watch AEW, I peruse the internet, I peruse the IWC, I peruse Reddit, which skews very heavily AEW when it's on. If it's just weird to me to see him go from the splitting off from the Elite and going, oh my God, this is his moment, this is his time to shine, to crickets.
Well, it's like I say, it's such a double-edged sword with him because, yes, there is that factor that he has been pushed and then he's lost in the shuffle, but this also happens when they bring in any new talent.
Right.
Same thing can be said for Brian Cage, who came in straight from Impact, was crushing it on the independent scene, came into a big fanfare, and then after that just got kind of lost in the shuffle. He got paired up with Taz, and they're doing the Team Taz gimmick.
Right.
Which Taz is great on the mic. I think he did help Brian Cage there.
Sure.
And as now they're doing the slow tease, because this whole story build-up between these two is Page was the number one contender for the longest time because rankings allegedly matter.
Yeah.
Brian Cage came in, and when they had their one-on-one match on Dynamite, he squashed him in about 30 seconds. Like, he absolutely ran through him.
Sure.
But they were saying, it was due to Team Taz being on the outside. You couldn't do it by yourself.
Yeah.
So this was more or less a match of respect. So this is how they're trying to run with it since they're both 4 and 5 respectively at the time of this match.
Sure.
And this was a great match. Like I say, they really were hitting their stride late. Early on, though, and I don't know if this was because of being in front of a live crowd for the first time in a long time.
Probably.
The timing seemed off.
Probably.
And I think that they weren't flowing as well as they could have.
Yeah.
They did rebound at the end, I will say. And then when Team Taz came out and was trying to slide in the FTW title to Brian Cage, he didn't use it. He threw it back, but that was a distraction that Page has moved to get the 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
So I think they're doing a decent job with establishing Page back on the right track. But the only question is, you threw him with the Dark Order for I don't know how long. Yet you have Page going up by himself against a faction. He doesn't have the Dark Order to back him up.
Right.
So what are we really doing with the storyline?
Yeah.
And this is the argument that you can say for a lot of people in AEW, that they have a lot of great talent, but they're missing one person to steer the ship.
Oh, yeah.
And it's showing in this match.
Oh, yeah.
That as great of a match this is, okay, where's Page going from here? Because he has to go somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
They're already setting up for Brian Cage versus Team Taz. Like, the slow build is happening there, which I'm not mad about.
Right.
I'm not. But for Adam Page, who should be in the top of your card, the question is, where do we go from here?
Yeah, I mean, and to your point about lacking a singular voice and singular focus, that's definitely the case. Just because, I mean, I'm looking at all the folks who won on this card, and they're established guys who have been with that company. And yeah, I look at all the people who are on the losing end of things, and there's quite a few of them with the Casino Battle Royale, which we'll get to in just a second. But like, especially with that, and then just knowing some of the names that are there, that like, why are you running some of these matches when you have so much great talent behind them? Like, this doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, it's just a little perplexing. I will say that. But when they hit their strides, it's good. But it's too inconsistent. I mean, that's the one flaw that I see with AEW. Yeah. And I do watch them every week. So it's like, it's not to say that I'm just casual about it, but I see the product and I can go, okay, this is what they should be doing here. Why aren't they doing this? And this is just one thing that's just mind-blowing to me, because they seem to keep saying, okay, we're the new alternative, new alternative.
Right.
And yet you're doing a lot of the same stuff that you always complain the WWE does. I don't know. Next up, though, on the card
was the match for the AEW Tag Team Championship, where you had the Young Bucks and Matt and Nick Jackson defending against Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley, and you had the Young Bucks retain their belts, defeating Kingston and Moxley via pinfall. Great
match until the end.
Oh, yeah. Well,
yet again,
okay.
This is going to be a running theme for a lot of this card.
It's a running theme of AEW, it appears.
Well, they wind up to botch the landing more times than not.
Yeah.
And I don't like it as a fan, because you had a great story going when Moxley and Kingston hit the ring. And I always say this, I need a YouTube buddy show with them, just sitting there at a bar doing Moxley and Kingston things. I'm good with that. They came out, crowd was hyped. They're definitely feeding off that energy. They came in the ring. The match is very back and forth. Kingston is looking like $1 million, as he should, because if you've never seen Eddie Kingston wrestle, he can go, but he's one of the best people on the microphone to back it up. So there is that sense of realism there with him. But it just seemed as the Young Bucks kept going and going and going. And one thing that we've always been very critical about them is they just add 5 more minutes on a match that doesn't need to be there.
I'll say, reading from the card on ProFightDB.com, they have the duration of this match listed at 21 minutes and 9 seconds.
Yeah, I think if they shorten it up by about 15 minutes, instead of just extending it out just to get a couple more super kicks in, this would have been an A-plus match. But I think the problem that I had with this is, by the time that they hit a lot of their moves, and they hit it like an amazing 450, they hit a lot of their typical moves that they do, Meltzer driver and such. When they got to the end and they did their finisher, which for this match was the BTE trigger, which is the move that Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi was using, the double knees.
Yeah.
They were so gassed out from the match, there was nothing to it. Like it seemed like a delayed reaction for being the knockout blow. Now, granted, I get how the story goes, but perception is reality, and it looked like you already hit him with your biggest moves and he kicked out, and these were just taps, and you got nothing out of it.
I'm looking. Matt Jackson currently 36 years old, and then Nick Jackson, on the other hand, doing some quick math, this year he will turn 32 years old here in about another month and a half. Not saying they're getting older, decrepit or run down or anything. Oh, the pad shitting on the Bucks. No, I just think it's a case of father time might be starting to creep up on them. And I know this was a point that they hit with the Mick Foley A&E documentary, and I know it's a point I think it was Ric Flair brought up. That like you look at these young guys, and these young guys can go and go and go and go and go, and they can do these crazy moves, and they can bounce back from these crazy injuries because they're young and they're vibrant. And then you get to, you got a lot of the older guys who are sitting there going, "Don't keep doing this. Don't keep running and doing this. You're not going to be able to do this forever." I think the Bucks might be starting to get there, that they have their moves, they can still perform, but just not necessarily to the level they used to a couple years ago.
I wouldn't say they fell off. I think they just literally got tired.
Oh, I'm not saying they fell off. I'm not saying they fell off. I'm just saying that, much like any car after a number of years of running, it doesn't run quite the same as it did X number of years on.
Well, that's a fair take. I think, though, for this match, they were clicking on all cylinders because they were definitely hitting their traditional spots. But I think just by the end of it, and it's just, let's face it, a wrestling match is one of the most athletic things you can be involved in.
True.
And it does take a lot out of you. And I think that just by the time it was over, there was nothing on those knee strikes to really sell this as, this is the end.
Oh my God, they took their heads off.
Yeah, not saying you need to have a complete, fury. Sure. But it just seemed like there was nothing on that finish. So it was like, okay, when you got the pin, how? Why? Like, it just didn't add up when they had other moves in the night, which would have made a ton more sense.
Right.
So, either way, I was upset they didn't give the new tag team titles, though, because I thought Moxley and Kingston would have gave that division a breath of fresh air, but now the Bucks are still champs, still doing that weird Met Gala gimmick where they're, like, too chic for everything.
Right. Changing their Twitter bios on a daily basis.
Yeah, which, I mean, if they got to reinvent themselves, sure, I'm not hating on them. They're one of the greatest tag teams on the planet right now.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see something a little stronger for a finish. And I think that just took away from the match overall.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's because, like Vince has said, you can have the greatest match of all time, but if the ending sucks, nobody's going to remember the rest of the match.
Exactly. That's why we haven't deep dived into, because it was a fantastic match until the end.
Yep. Next up was the Casino Battle Royale, and Jungle Boy emerged victorious to win a future shot at, what is it, the AEW World Championship. But we should also note that the Joker, the mystery entrant, no, it wasn't Ryback, although Christ all goddamn mighty, he was going on Twitter all night.
He was trying.
He was trolling everybody with Joker references and card references and all this other. Christ almighty, annoyed the piss out of me a little bit. But no, the Joker mystery entrant ended up being Lio Rush.
I marked out for that.
Good for him.
I completely marked out. Well, we all did in the room too. Diesel and Rich and I just got done watching GCW Draft Day.
Yeah.
Replay, fantastic card. If you're not watching Game Changer Wrestling, you need to start. It's not all death matches. It is some of the best wrestling you're going to see on the planet, bar none. Seeing Lio Rush, though, definitely excited to see him back, and he was flying all over the place.
I bet he was motivated.
Oh, he's a little fired up, too. And I will address something a little later in the show, too, because they did announce somebody else was signed to AEW, and Leo came right on Twitter and addressed it right away.
Okay.
So before anybody starts going, well, how's he going to last in AEW when somebody else is there? Leo has already addressed it and said they have talked at a great length, and they're going to continue to talk, and things are in a good place.
Well, because the other thing too is Leo's not in AEW per se, like full time.
Correct.
It's a handshake deal.
It's a handshake agreement, which does scare me a little bit.
Sure.
Because we've seen this happen in the past with Tony Khan, with wrestlers. Jeff Cobb comes to mind.
Yeah.
When you do these handshake agreements, you don't have everybody locked up.
So you start a storyline, and then all of a sudden they go, oh, you know what? I'm a little bored with this. I'm going to go do something else.
Yeah, it's a problem you have with a handshake that If they get offered more money to go somewhere else, you got to match it or it's all for naught. Seeing Leo there, though, I think he can definitely do a lot of cool things. I think he could definitely add some energy to that show. I can already think of a couple of opponents I'd love to see him against.
Sure.
Ray Phoenix comes right to mind.
That'd be good.
But to see him get there and definitely was a big surprise. I didn't see coming at all. I was excited about it. And as for the Battle Royal itself, they do run these casino Battle Royals a little different.
Yeah, a little odd.
Because they have everybody paired together, 5 in a suit for your traditional card deck.
Yep.
And they draw a suit. So, for example, the hearts come out.
Yep.
And there's 5 wrestlers that come out at once. And then diamonds and the clubs and the spades. And then you have the Joker at the end.
Yeah.
So to see how this was all playing out, Christian Cage was part of the first group that came out. And I know that everybody on the stream was thinking, okay, he's going to go top to bottom to finish. He didn't. Put over Jungle Boy, which I will say this. If you haven't seen Jungle Boy wrestle, he can go. He is a star they can push. I don't know if he's going to win a world title.
Maybe.
But he is talented enough that if he did, I'm on board with it.
Okay.
It's just because there's something about him that you see him in these matches, and he does a lot of great things.
Sure.
But it's like I haven't seen him as a world title contender yet, even though he's been in there with Jericho before and definitely done some things. He is going to get his world title shot against Kenny Omega in 2 weeks. They did announce this on Dynamite.
Yeah.
Or right after the show. So I'm excited to see where this is all going to play out from there.
Sure.
I would hope he wins because if you want to talk about being the new alternative and doing something like that, he can go in the ring.
Well, you got to give him a little bit of time. I will cut him some slack. He literally turns 25 in 2 weeks.
Right. But he is somebody
so he's young.
He's somebody that's got so much upside, too. Like, the gimmick is a little something and you got to digest a little bit.
Getting used to.
It is, but once you get him in the ring, he can go. And like I say, I haven't just seen him in that main event picture yet, but it's not to say he couldn't get there.
Right.
But excited to see him win. I was more happy to see him win than Christian Cage.
Yeah.
Just saying, because I was fearing, okay, great, another WWE guy coming in, media title shot. Yay. Wash, rinse, repeat. Next up, though,
was the matchup between Anthony Ogogo and Cody Rhodes, and you had Cody Rhodes emerge victorious via pinfall.
Okay.
The thoughts, views, and opinions are that of Ken M. and do not necessarily reflect that of the ODPH. Listener discretion is advised.
So, if you have not been following this,
Count yourself lucky.
Yeah, Anthony Ogogo has been a developmental talent. Cody has said this in record for AEW. He is a very decorated boxer from Great Britain. And we haven't really seen him involved in too much on AEW programming, except he has been in one of the factions on there. I believe it's called The Factory.
Yeah.
I'm so not tuned into whatever QT Marshall and company are doing that I'm not so invested about this, but this is the whole buildup of the Nightmare family splitting up.
Well, so I'm looking at his ProFightDB.com profile. He has 3 matches in his professional tenure, all of them with AEW. One against where he defeated Cole Carter on the April 14th edition of 2021 edition of AEW Dynamite. Another one where he defeated via knockout Austin Gunn on the May 13th edition of AEW Dynamite. And then his match last night was his 3rd match.
Yes, and he is a very decorated boxer from the Olympic realm, so we do know that he is a physical specimen.
Sure.
And in his tweets prior to this match, he was really coming off like the face in all of this, where he was saying that he's lost eye. He only has 20% eyesight in his left eye. He's had 9 surgeries.
The face that runs the place.
He was really selling himself as the face of this match, which I had no issue with.
He's the champ that runs the camp.
Facts. And then to flip the coin, you have Cody Rhodes, who previous weeks has come out and cut one of the most unique, and I'm just going to put it very politely, promos that made no sense whatsoever.
If I could get away with playing the Hulk Hogan theme music here, I would.
Yeah, this was just so forced of a storyline that just didn't make sense that all of a sudden, he has, to kind of just paraphrase, he was defending America from Great Britain.
Yeah, I mean, it was one that, like I said, I peruse the Squared Circle subreddit, which is the main kind of big pro wrestling subreddit on Reddit, and they skew very heavily AEW. There are a lot of AEW fans on that page. Even the fans there were, when that promo happened, there was a thread going where there was a lot of people going, what the fuck was that?
Yeah, because it was just so out of nowhere, and it was just all over the place, and really not the way to build a story.
Well, because didn't he even say, like, oh, I'm going to use my father's nickname, the American Dream, which I heard that and I was like, All right, that makes sense. Like honoring the father, carrying on the family tradition. Sure, not the weirdest thing in the world.
No, it wasn't the weirdest thing, but it was just kind of like, okay, why are we making this about USA versus Great Britain?
Right.
Like, that was the whole basis of the storyline.
Which, for American listeners and UK listeners, makes zero sense in the world. But for those of you who aren't familiar with American or British history, we're very good friends.
Yeah, long-standing allies for many, many years.
Fought a couple of wars together.
Yeah, so the fact that this was supposed to be set up like Rocky IV,
Yeah.
and this came off like, I don't even know, like, you can go search that promo yourself, and you can hear a lot of takes throughout the weeks from a lot of places. But the whole buildup was Cody was coming out honoring the American dream, his late father, because Dusty was just an icon of professional wrestling. Cody comes out to the ring looking like Homelander from The Boys.
Oh, my Lord.
And you can't tell me otherwise. I posted the tweet. I was not the only one. There was AEW wrestlers that posted it as well. I believe Trent was one that came out and said something as well. Pat is checking this right now.
I'm looking up the gear because I actually haven't seen this. Because, like I said, I did not watch the show. I know you tagged me in something, but I couldn't. I read it and I was on Twitter and I was like, what the hell is this? I couldn't make heads or tails of it. I'm looking at it now. I mean, I can see the comparisons and I can see where you're going with it. I mean, maybe it's just me, but when I see the side, because I'm looking at a side view of the gear, it reminds me of, if anything else, than like an oversized version of the jackets the Beatles wore for their Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club album cover. But no, yeah, I mean, I can see the comparisons.
Oh, that was full Homelander. And like I said, the AEW wrestlers are talking about it. I actually found the tweet by Trent, and he goes, Homelander? Question mark. So you know what Homelander is on The Boys.
Yeah.
Just putting that there. So if you haven't seen The Boys on Amazon Prime, you need to start watching. I will plug that all day, every day. So Cody comes out wearing that, and it's like, okay, here we go. And we get to the match, and it's yet again Cody being Cody.
I mean, mercifully, it was only 10 minutes and 32 seconds.
Right, which Ogogo actually showed some promise. Not saying he looked like Kurt Angle coming out of the gate, even though I believe he did an angle slam at one point.
Oh.
He looked like a very new wrestler.
Sure.
Cody was selling, then no selling, then selling, then no selling. The storytelling there is just kind of a little worrisome to me.
Yeah, I mean, I get why they're doing the story from the perspective of, you know, not the whole America Britain thing is not what I'm referring to. I get why they're having him face Cody because, let's face it, Ogogo is from Cody's camp. He's trained with everybody over there. If you want to have somebody you have a vested interest in seeing grow and prosper and have a bright future ahead of them, you have them work with you if you have that opportunity. And obviously being a high up person in that company as Cody is, he's well placed to go, hey, listen, put him in a program with me. I will make the kid look like $1 million.
Yeah, which I get, but at the same time, he really wasn't doing a great job about selling him. And I thought what they should have done is had a go over.
Sure.
Because
that
now
made sense.
It would have made a lot more sense. But with Cody winning, and albeit though, he hit him with a vertebreaker. Haven't seen one of those since Sugar Shane Helms. And man, oh man, I love that move too. Cody wins outright. So Ogogo now has some experience under his belt. I'd like to see him do a little bit of redemption and just work his way back up through the ranks. Because like I said, he has a tremendous upside. Tremendous. But for Cody to get the win again, it's like, yet again, you have another new talent that comes in. And Cody wins and Cody goes over. Wash, rinse, repeat yet again.
Yeah.
So I didn't like that. I thought they should have done the swerve. But, or I got to remember, Rhodeslander, as Diesel calls him.
That's awful.
Got the win. Yes, that's what he's running with. But he wins again.
Good on Diesel's part for coming up with that, but it's still awful.
Rhodeslander. Got to make that trending. Hashtag it.
No.
Next up
was the match for the AEW TNT Championship between Miro defending his belt against Lance Archer, and Miro defeated Lance Archer to retain his AEW TNT Championship.
Probably going to sound like a broken record here. Great match, horrible ending. Now, these guys really were hitting each other. They came out. This was going to be my match of the night, and they came out swinging too, which I loved. Hitting big moves. Miro looked like a beast. Lance Archer looked like an absolute monster, which is what they had brought these two gentlemen in to do.
Yeah.
So we finally get this.
Right.
And then we get kind of a weird ending because, first and foremost, if anybody has not watched, Jake the Snake Roberts comes out with Lance Archer.
Right.
And at one point, Miro takes him out, and he goes back to get allegedly the infamous bag snake.
Yeah, I was like, because I know there was an incident, what was it, like the day prior, where they were having the quote-unquote weigh-ins, which I've never seen for a professional wrestling match. I was like, all right, this is like having a contract signing or a wedding at a wrestling event. Shit's going to happen. And Miro took a swing at Jake the Snake. I was like, okay.
Yeah, he definitely was trying to build that up, and Miro has been trying to get some heel heat here, so I'm not mad about it. But when Jake came back with the snake, and then Miro took care of him, and then threw the snake bag right in the hallway, like it was just like so over the top. It was comical.
Yeah.
In that aspect, not saying anything more than it was just you knew it was a fake bag, and you knew it was funny just to see Miro just go over the top with it.
Yeah, and I mean, good for him. He's winning the belt. He seems to be doing well in the company. But he needs to stop letting his former employer live rent-free in his head.
Well, again.
Because he said, quote, I used to be in a company where people made me sing and dance, but no more. This is my time. This is on my terms. I got no boss over my head. So I don't care about Cody Rhodes, his reality shows, or whatever else he's doing. Close quote.
Well, it's Miro being Miro. But if he comes up with an ending like he did for this match, which was he tried doing his finisher, the Acolyte, or a.k.a. Game Over.
Yeah.
But except he did not cover Lance Archer's chin.
Right.
He didn't even cover his mouth. He had him basically on his nose.
Yeah.
And allegedly that made him pass out for the loss.
Ooh.
Allegedly. Like I said, it was a bad finish because it didn't really look like, okay, you made Archer pass out. Because the submission did not look proper. So I thought overall, it did the job about Miro winning, and they can definitely build off this and go forward.
Right.
And just for like a couple moments in the match that their timing was off, I thought it was a solid match. And even the thing with Jake Roberts, which, like I say, not condoning harming snakes in any which way or shape or form, but it was like Miro was really trying to go over the top with it and really establish himself as being a heel.
Yeah.
Which I like to see that monster side of him. Because
that's when he was at his best, and when he first showed up in WWE was just he showed up, he had matches with the guys, and he would choke them all out with that submission finisher until Lana came in and told him to stop. That you're like, holy shit, this guy might actually like hurt something.
Yeah,
that's when he was at his best. Was when he was the monster just running through guys.
Yeah, and now I'm just waiting to see the rematch between these two, and I have no problem with Archer going over that one because he's going to come back on a tear. But just how this match ended, like I said, great match, horrible finish. Yet again.
Yeah.
So, not the best way to wrap that one up. However, though, we do get to one of my favorite moments of the night.
Yeah, so this was for the AEW Women's Championship, where you had Hikaru Shida defending her belt against Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. Hikaru Shida, of course, just celebrating 1 year as the Women's Champion and got a new belt as well. Only as a lot of people predicted. Britt Baker defeated Shida via submission to become your and new AEW Women's Champion.
I love the ending for this match because Baker went over.
Oh, yeah.
This match, not one of their best ones they've had, but still a solid match.
Yeah.
And the little back and forth, like I say, I think they went off just trying to do too much with this at one point.
Sure.
But the little back and forth, and when Baker finally getting lockjaw on Shida, I thought was like, okay, we're finally here. It's just the pacing was not there. Like they were trying to do too much. But like I think there was just one of the moments that they really wanted to steal the show.
Oh yeah.
I don't fault anybody for trying to do that.
Well, and especially I saw the video this morning, especially with Britt's family being in the front row on one of the sides. Mm-hmm. You know, her family was right there. So obviously winning a championship on a major promotion that's televised around the world. You know she wanted to have an 8-star match.
Oh, absolutely. Like they both wanted to go out there and steal it because the one knock that we've had since day one about AEW is they have completely mismanaged their women's division.
Uh-huh.
They have a phenomenal roster, but yet they don't push them. They don't do enough to make them stand out and really get the shine that they deserve, in my opinion. Please correct me if I'm wrong. They don't do it. You look at WWE and how they do their women's division, which has the best one by far.
It's like Christ, NXT's top of that list.
Yeah, you have NXT, you have SmackDown, you have Raw. All their women's divisions are stacked, and they could headline their own shows if they want to. Impact Wrestling has one of the best women's rosters.
Yeah.
And they headline shows. They do phenomenal work. Deanna Purrazzo, phenomenal champion.
Yeah.
And they're doing solid work each week.
Yeah.
We don't see this on AEW.
I'll say, Christ, the last 2 weeks of Raw, you got Nikki Cross winning major matches against some of their top talent on that whole company.
Well, you look at it. Who they have headline WrestleMania? Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks, and had a Match of the Year candidate.
Uh-huh.
Meanwhile, AEW has these fleeting moments where they'll have a fantastic women's match, and yet then they don't capitalize on it. That you have to search out on YouTube instead of having them featured on Dynamite. That's not how you build up that division, in my opinion. This is a great match that the fans were invested in because Britt Baker has the Match of the Year candidate right now with Thunder Rosa for the no-holds-barred match they did on St. Paddy's Day. If you haven't seen that, that is the current Match of the Year.
Yeah.
You can debate me all you want. It's in that discussion if it's not number one.
Oh, yeah, no, you have to. I mean, but the thing of it is, though, is like you said, they didn't capitalize on it because that episode took place on March 11th, 2021. Mm-hmm. What did she do since then?
Yeah.
That was memorable.
Exactly.
I'm looking at her record here. She wrestled. She participated. After that, she won... where is it? There it is. She won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 matches, including last night, and she lost 1.
Yeah.
Like, okay, great. You won a bunch of matches. None of them are really, like, the internet's going bonkers over.
Well, they worked their way back up the card, which is what they needed to, because who won that match on March 11th, sir?
That would be Thunder Rosa.
Yes. But yet, Britt Baker was bumped into the title contention. Now, I'm not mad about that. I know that this has been some debate about on the internet. I'm not mad about it because they did the right way about bringing her back up, that she worked her way back up the card.
Yeah.
But it was a long road that everybody was waiting to kind of see how this is going to get featured, and Britt did as much as she could with the time with it. So I said, I'm not mad about the build-up. I just wish they give more of a focal attention in comparison with the other companies, because this was going to be a great match. And like I said, nothing against Shida, too, because she has done everything she can in that title reign she had.
Right.
Not a fault on hers, but you can only do so much with the time and the opponents you're given. And I think that this is where we see, in comparison, WWE has done light years difference. I want to see AEW succeed here, but they have to really start making the emphasis and push and make this happen. Baker might be the person to finally get it over.
Maybe.
They have Jade Cargill waiting in the wings, and I know that she is brand new to the business, but she is going to be a bona fide superstar by the time it's all said and done.
Yeah.
I hate the fact she got paired with a manager because that drives me absolutely nuts.
Sure.
But she's somebody they can build off from. Ty Conte is putting in great work that she's now getting on TV and doing this. You have Chris Statlander, who's coming back from injury.
Sure.
You have the talent there. Push them. Get them on TV each week, not just one match every so often. Get them in matches and let them go. But like I say, if this is going to be the era of Baker, who's definitely over and definitely deserving of the title, let it happen and let us see her run with the ball, because I can't wait to see what she does now. But then we go to... I got feelings about this one.
Uh-oh. So the next matchup was between Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky, and then going up against Darby Allin and Sting. And you had the aforementioned Darby Allin and Sting defeat Page and Scorpio Sky via pinfall.
Sting was doing a lot of stuff in this match.
I saw the internet went nuts for his dive off of the poker chips.
Yeah, he did a dive off. 61 years old. God bless him. I was getting nervous because I thought he was going to start taking some bad bumps.
Sure.
And at this age, listen, wrestling is not something you might want to be considering doing at a pace that he was doing.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at him for trying to relive the dream and keep going. And listen, he looked good in this match. But he was in there with three guys. Yeah, 3 guys that really went out of their way. Like I said, well, he didn't have any interaction with Darby per se.
No, right, but Darby could still help him along.
Darby could, but Darby is somebody that he still worries me wrestling.
Okay.
If you haven't seen Darby, he is basically a walking crash test dummy. He takes a lot of crazy bumps. I understand this is gimmick, and listen.
This like skater thing, yeah.
I get it, but I worry with how unsafe a lot of those appear to be, and then he gets injured quite often.
Well, so it's again,
in my opinion.
Again, because I saw it on Sunday, it's a lot like what they talked about with Mick Foley in some of his early days. That like he was taking a lot of bumps, and a lot of them were like, yeah, these are going to add up after a while.
Exactly, and he takes them at such a high risk pace that I get worried about him. Because like I sit there and I want to see this kid succeed. I think he's got this unique factor with the crowd.
Sure.
Like he could connect with them. But some of the stuff he does, I'm like, oh man, like this is going to haunt you. And if you don't find that good balance in a couple of years, he's not going to be wrestling anymore.
Right.
I worry about this because I want to see this kid succeed. But, man, some of that stuff he does is like, oh, this makes me a little worrisome.
Yeah.
But for Sting, like, I'm hoping Sting might be able to guide him in that path because
that might be why he's there.
And that works. Like I say, I always kid around the storyline they're going to reveal Sting is his father on the show.
Oh my god.
I fully see that happening. But the pairing has kind of been balancing out, albeit though the intro for it was kind of corny. Like Darby got picked up in a Cadillac driven to the.
I still got to see the video. Somebody put their entrance to Ice Cube. It was a good day. I still got to watch that video.
Oh, that's interesting. I got to check that out too. But they're in there against Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page, who both are solid wrestlers, should be pushed to the moon by themselves and let them go crazy from there. But this was a fun match. I will say this, but I just sat there and kind of just worried a little bit. But Sting didn't get hurt, so that was the biggest thing too. So and the crowd was into it, man. Everybody was into it. It was a good nostalgia match. Yeah. Nothing else really home about.
Next up was your co-main event of the evening. It was Kenny Omega taking on Orange Cassidy and Pac in a triple threat match for the AEW World Championship. And you had Kenny Omega emerge victorious to retain his AEW World Championship title.
We talked at length about this on the live stream, and even after a rewatch, I stand with Rich about this. They missed the best opportunity known to man.
Mm-hmm.
Late in the match, which the match itself was great. Not mad about. A lot of people were hitting crazy moves. I believe Orange Cassidy hit a Michinoku driver on Kenny Omega out of nowhere, which I was like, okay, here we go. Because the build-up for this is Kenny Omega is the belt collector. He's champion now of TNA and Impact and AAA and AEW, and he's basically trying to be the best wrestler on the planet. Orange Cassidy was not supposed to be involved in this match. He's not on that level. Pac has been kind of a thorn in the side, and he's kind of been lingering around here and there since he's been in AEW. They have the history built up, and obviously there was a match to determine number one contender, and unfortunately Cassidy got hurt, so they wrote it in as a no contest, even though the original plan was it was going to be a time limit draw, and they both got into this match, allegedly. So this match, though, was kicking on all cylinders. It was great back and forth, and like I said, they missed this one opportunity where Pac hits a move on Omega, Cassidy grabs him and throws Pac out of the ring.
Mm-hmm.
The crowd is losing their mind.
Yeah.
Like, you think about any sporting event you've gone to and somebody hits a game-winning shot.
Yep.
They're on that teetering to explode. Like, Daly's Place would have rioted.
Yeah.
Omega kicks out.
Oh, Jesus.
And you can see, like, the air let out in the room.
Oh.
Like, it was like, what? And Rich, I give him full credit about this. Rich was screaming. That was the moment. If they had that happen.
Oh, it would have been like when Foley beat The Rock on that episode of Raw.
Yeah.
Like to this day, that is I like rewatching the clip because I wasn't able to watch it live because I wasn't watching it at that point. That is the loudest I've ever heard a crowd in any setting in any sport.
Yeah.
If they would have, from the sounds of what you're saying, it sounds like they would have probably topped that sound if they'd have gone through with this.
Place would have exploded. The internet would have exploded. Like, it would have been the biggest moment.
Richter scales would have read the shakes.
The needle mover would have just been exploding on the internet. Like, everybody would have tuned into Dynamite. Dynamite might have even hit 1.5 this week. Maybe 2.
It's like, shit, I might have watched if Cassidy actually
I'm telling you, like, it would have swung. It would have a big swing. I know it's not going to hit that now because then once Omega kicks out, then they get in some shenanigans where the ref gets knocked out, Aubrey comes running in, and, she's the one who calls it right down the middle.
Oh, yeah.
Which I said, I'm not mad about Aubrey coming in as the referee. But once they come in, they try doing a pin where Cassidy's pinning him again, but the crowd is already gassed out, and then Omega rolls him up in a crucifix for the 3 count. Match over.
Right.
Yet again, fantastic match, horrible ending.
Right.
And you kill your crowd. You kill your fan base watching at home. Because, again, I know we sound like a broken record here, but this is the problem we have with this company.
Yeah.
Fantastic match, horrible ending, wash, rinse, repeat.
Well, and there were people not happy about what happened, or maybe they just wanted to leave early and beat traffic. I'm not sure. But I did see photos from accounts I follow on Twitter that were retweeting people who were at the event. And the third, now from a little bit of bit of backstory, I don't know what the final sales number was, but I know Uncle Dave Meltzer, did tweet earlier in the day that they were less than 300, maybe less than 200 tickets away from selling the place out. So they were close to selling the place out. They probably by the time it
was on air,
it was sold out. So the place was jammed to the rafters. And I saw a couple of photos on Twitter that, especially with the upper ring, like the highest section of the seating, that was jammed full before that match was going on. But then once it came time for the main event, near empty.
Well, that's the thing. Everybody went home because they thought it was over and done with. Because they were getting shown what we all thought at home too, a cinematic match. So why are you going to sit there and watch a cinematic match? I mean, granted, if I bought a ticket, I stayed till the end.
Oh God, yeah.
It would be the smart move to do because you get to the main event, which is the pinnacle. MJF's group of the FTR and Wardlow and Shawn Spears against the Inner Circle, Chris Jericho's led group, the original faction of AEW, Santana Ortiz, Sammy Guevara, and Jake Hager. Mm-hmm. And the stipulation is high because after the events of Blood and Guts, a.k.a. War Games, the Inner Circle put their whole group on the line. If they lost, it's a wrap. This match taking place at Jacksonville Stadium. And what else can you really say about this match other than if you took it with any kind of serious tones, you missed the point of this?
I mean, I will say they dropped the ball by not having Trevor Lawrence or Tebow there.
No,
I understand having Urban Meyer and whoever the assistant coach was there, but when you saw Urban Meyer there, everyone went, "Oh my God, where's Trevor Lawrence? Where's Trevor Lawrence? Where's Tebow?" Now, I get Trevor Lawrence, highly protected prospect, you know, future your franchise. He doesn't have to do anything physical. Christ, he could have filled the role of the assistant coach there, tossing footballs to Jericho.
Yeah,
you know, drop the ball on that a little bit.
Well, they did because, I mean, first and foremost, you have MJF show up in a limo to the event.
Yeah.
You have the Inner Circle scale down over the scoreboard.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, which that was kind of corny. Not gonna lie.
Well, a lot of wrestling entrances are.
Yeah, which, I mean, I get because you have to take the Stadium Stampede with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
Like, if anybody thinks it's a real match, no.
Yeah.
It's completely over the top, hammed up for the cameras, but it's meant to be a fun moment. So, like I say, they were all having fun. You could definitely tell because when else are you allowed to go in an NFL stadium and absolutely trash the place?
And not get arrested.
Exactly. So as they're fighting through, everybody's kind of paired off, and you see Wardlow and Jake Hager fighting in what appears to be the backup refrigerator area.
Yeah.
You see Santana Ortiz and FTR have this weird moment in a nightclub, which apparently they have inside the stadium, much like Tampa Bay Rays have.
I know the Raiders are going to be putting something in like that as well.
Yeah, so there's this weird nightclub thing going on. Conan was DJing.
Yeah.
So they're fighting there. You have Sammy Guevara fighting off with Shawn Spears, and you can definitely tell, like, in one room, too, you see a spotlight come down, and Spears is sitting around their backup chairs for, like, what they do for events. And they're going back and forth about it until eventually you get MJF and Chris Jericho coming back to Daly's place. So they're back in front of a live crowd because... It's reasons, but they want to give the fans a good way to go home because there's no way they were going to end that card with a heel winning.
Right. Well, and you got to figure that after the first Stadium Stampede match, they probably figured, all right, you know, why don't we just end this in front of an actual crowd?
Yeah.
And give them something to go home on. So, like, rather have them go home, something to go home on, rather than saying, oh, yeah, we watched, you know, a bunch of matches, and then we had to sit there watching a TV screen for the end of it.
Yeah, like, it was just a lot of just weird stuff mixed in.
Yeah.
And the ending was Sammy Guevara getting the pin, saving the faction, and everybody gets to sing Judas by Fozzy on the way out the door.
That's why they kept the audience there.
Yeah, exactly, because you got to play up to Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
Which, I mean...
I'll say this, though. Again, with not having Trevor Lawrence there, missed opportunity for a lot of exposure, because had you have had Trevor Lawrence in that assistant coach's role of not even getting physically involved, so there's no risk of harm to him, where he's just standing there and he starts tossing footballs to Chris Jericho, which, let's face it, is probably the most natural thing to see him do in any sort of wrestling entertainment. You would have been on every form of sports media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, websites, television, radio, newsprint. You would have been everywhere because of simply the number one overall draft pick made an appearance.
Yeah, you would have. I mean, granted, they did get a quick buzz with Charlie Strong, the assistant coach, and Coach Urban Meyer were the ones that were involved in. So they did get the run on sports media.
For like all of 5 minutes.
All of 5 minutes. Yeah, they still got a good bump. But I would imagine if you had Tebow on there, I think they kept Tebow off because I think he's a lot bigger than some of the guys that were in the match.
I've seen Tebow. Tebow's ripped these days.
Yeah, that's what I said. Like, I don't think they want to pair him up with Wardlow because I think he's bigger than Wardlow.
Could be.
And I'm just saying, it's not a slight against Wardlow. I mean,
Could be.
Tebow is just that big these days.
Yeah.
But this match ended with the crowd happy go home moment. The inner circle is still there, which I don't get, but it is what it is.
Reasons.
But overall, the card was okay. My official grade is a B-.
Okay.
That they had solid matches.
Mm-hmm.
But yet again, what's the one thing that stands out?
The
finish.
endings.
Yeah, the endings.
I'll say the other thing, too, that I think hurt them a bit was I saw the very ending, like the last 5-10 seconds on Reddit from Dynamite on Friday night, where it was ending with Kenny and Don Callis, and Kenny was saying something to the effect of, like, if you can't beat me, you need to find somebody who can. And instantly the entire internet went, oh my God, Okada and Ibushi.
Yeah.
They fucking went nuts, and the internet was like, oh my God, he's going to face, they're going to bring in Okada and Ibushi. I'm like, well, you just fucking sunk your match for that card with everyone thinking that, because they're not going to give a fuck what happens on Sunday, because they're going to be looking for Ibushi and Okada.
Yeah, it's just a weird placement that they wanted to do for it. But I thought they delivered on a good show. It definitely got everybody hyped up. And even we didn't get a chance to touch about the big release, which was Mark Henry has now signed with AEW in a trainer's role.
Same, but different, but still same.
It is. It's kind of an interesting thing. I got the press release from AEW, so shout out to AEW for sending us this. Quote unquote, in the midst of the enthralling Double or Nothing pay-per-view on Saturday, May 30th, the world's strongest man, Mark Henry, surprised the full-capacity crowd signing on as an expert analyst, coach, scout, and mentor with the company. So this is a very solid move for them if he's going to be in a training role.
Yeah, and Mark Henry did do an interview, I believe, with on Busted Open Radio.
Mm-hmm.
He said, quote, my deal was up. It's not something that was recent. I can go back 5 or 6 months, and I wanted a position in the WWE office. I talked to Vince himself, and he said, write it up. You're somebody I'll listen to. I was told that there was a lot of cleaning house and cuts that were happening, and there were a lot to come. I had seen hundreds in the company go. I felt valuable enough that I wasn't going anywhere. When your deal comes up and the rights come up as to where you're going to go next, I wanted to do more. I will always want to do more. If I can't get that opportunity, I have to look for that opportunity somewhere else. I wasn't negative. Vince and I have love for each other. More than love, respect. Me calling him and saying him what needed to be said came from a place of a brother telling his older brother. I'm tired of being in the shadows. I feel like someone beneath you is holding me back. If someone is holding me back, I have to go. I feel like I was being held back and not getting what I want. And I want to be successful and earn more. Vince said, you know everything you need to know. If you feel like you need to go, I don't necessarily want it, but if you need to go, then go. I know you'll be successful. That's what you want. I'm not going to run from a conversation like that. Nobody will say Mark Henry is unloyal. There were times when I was offered more money and didn't leave. Everything was perfect, but what family is perfect? Or everything wasn't perfect, but what family is perfect? I had a good experience and learned a lot. I spent more time in production and the trucks than I did around the ring and in catering. I always had an executive mindset, close quote.
And I think it's a solid move by AEW. I love the signing because the one area that we can't mention enough, talent development.
Mm-hmm.
And if he can be somebody that is not necessarily he's going to be made into the guy that oversees all the storylines, but his voice does carry a lot of weight with it, with his experience.
Oh, yeah. Well, and especially you think of a lot of the guys and girls in that company come from indie backgrounds where, let's face it, they're not thinking long-term. They're just thinking what they have to do for that match and getting their paycheck and then leaving. Mark's been in the business of, listen, you got to think week to week, month to month, year to year with what you're doing. You can't go with that indie mindset anymore. And he can be the voice for some of those folks.
Absolutely. And he'll be a great addition to the AEW Rampage broadcasting team because when that debuts on August 13th, he's going to be a part of that as well. So it's a win-win for them as all, and we did allude to a little earlier, Leo Rush did address the you want to say the question mark that everybody was asking?
The elephant in the room?
Yes, and he said via his Twitter, for all those wondering, yes, me and Mark had a long, in-depth conversation last night, looking forward to the future. That's good. I mean, it's a smart move by him to really kind of get ahead of that as well. And for Mark Henry, like I said, his voice does carry a lot of weight because of the experience of being in the business for 25 years.
Yeah.
And he can definitely help a young roster find its way. I'm just hoping that they do get his ideas about storylines and putting everything together and tightening up some of those finishes because, like I say, I give a B- to the show because 3 of those matches stand out for absolutely god-awful finishes.
Sure.
That's what I remember from the matches.
Right.
Like I say, it was great in-ring work, but then that's what I'm going home with.
Uh-huh.
So if Henry can come in there and make some moves there, I think that's a big win-win. I'm all for it. And I think that AEW can definitely benefit from it when it comes down to more success moving forward because now we're on the road to All Out. So definitely have to wait and see about that. But that's what we thought about AEW Double or Nothing. But what did you think about that? Hit us up on that hashtag ODPHpod. What is your feelings about AEW Double or Nothing? And definitely make sure to tune in to 607 TWS this Thursday on twitch.tv/607podcast because Rich and I are going to have a little more deep diving into that card as well. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Have you ever found yourself confused about the current state of the MCU or whatever the hell is happening with the DC universe?
Do you often have no idea what the hell the difference is between craft beer and that Bud Ice stuff at the gas station?
Well, then look no further.
We present to you Hops Geek News.
We're yet another geek and beer podcast in an already oversaturated market.
All right. We drink and we pretend we know things.
More often than not, we don't really know things, but we do talk some really great topics, and we most definitely can drink.
We'll deliver you news and then dive into any random topic you might have never knew you actually were passionate about.
With lots of fun facts about beer.
And from Marvel to DC and Star Wars, and to why Die Hard is most definitely a Christmas movie.
Which it is. Basically anything that our spouses are sick of hearing us talk about. Join us on YouTube or anywhere you listen to podcasts.
New episodes weekly. Just search Hops News.
Coming back for another segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast, and we have to talk some basketball.
Basketball is my favorite sport.
NBA playoffs are in full effect, so
Yeah,
let's
they are.
give some recap. Let's talk about it, Pad, shall we?
Yes, we'll start out west. Out in the west, currently you have the Utah Jazz on a 3-1 lead over the Memphis Grizzlies. No surprise there. Utah is the 1 seed. Memphis is the 8 seed. Seems like an all but certainty that Utah is going to win out the series and roll through.
Yeah, I think at this stage, unfortunately, that is the case. But take nothing away from Memphis. They're scrapping. Jay Morant, superstar. We all know this. And this is going to be a team that will learn from this because they're still a very, very young team.
Yeah.
So for them, the more experience they get for this, I think, and definitely will. I mean, you rarely see an 8 beat a 1.
No, yeah, hardly.
And it throws me off, too, because I keep on thinking, like, the play-ins, because it wasn't, like, a traditional 8.
Right.
So, like I said,
Right.
it throws me off just calling them that seeding because it's like, are you really an 8 seed or are you really not? But they're definitely proving they're worth being in the playoffs.
Yeah. And then you have the 4-seeded 4-seeded Clippers taking on the 5-seeded Dallas Mavericks, where that series is currently tied at 2 games apiece.
I'm saying this right now. If the Clippers lose this, they're imploding that team.
Oh, everybody but Kawhi and George, you're gone.
It's a wrap. It is an absolute wrap. The fact that Dallas is living and dying by Luka, which proves how great Luka is.
Isn't he also, like, not at 100% too?
Yeah. The fact that you have a less than 100% Donick, and he's crushing you in this series, and he's literally a one-man team. Sorry, just going to put it out there. The Clippers will have to implode that team. Kawhi is gone. Everybody's gone. Like, I seriously hit the reset button. There's no way you can't justify it otherwise. The Clippers are one of the biggest disappointments because they're not running through everybody.
Right.
They have the talent. Why can you not put this together? That's the question.
Who knows?
I don't know. Like, I got nothing on that.
Yeah. And then you have the 3-seeded Denver Nuggets taking on the 6-seeded Portland Trailblazers, where, again, that series is tied at 2 games apiece.
Portland shows up in the playoffs.
Yeah, they do. Dame time.
Yeah, that's the thing. Never doubt Damian Lillard.
No, from like
Never.
any spot on the floor, ever.
Yeah, he will literally... You talk about guys that leave it on the floor every night.
Uh-huh.
He leaves it on the floor every night.
He leaves it on the floor, in the rafters, in the bleachers, in the seats. He leaves it everywhere.
Yeah, he is phenomenal. Like, I would love to see him as a Nick.
He's got,
because...
don't get Coach Duffy excited.
Yeah, I know. Coach is now finally texting in about what he's trying to get into New York there. But Dame Lillard has always carried the team on his back no matter what. Denver, let's face it, is a solid squad.
Yeah, from top to bottom, very solid.
But I know they've had a couple bad injuries, which I mean, I think is going to hurt them, and that's why Portland's hanging around. I think ultimately Denver does win this, but it's not going to be easy, and Dame Lillard's going to push it to the max. I mean, that just shows how good he is.
Yeah, and then you have the 2-seeded Phoenix Suns taking on the 7-seeded LA Lakers, where, again, that series is tied 2 games apiece.
Wild. This is wild to me.
Yeah.
Phoenix is getting so disrespected in this series.
Yeah, they are.
But they're going to scrap. I mean, they are where they are for a reason. And I know that LeBron and company are giving them everything they got. I know the injury bug is lurking about yet again.
So, Anthony Davis left the game, the most recent game, with a groin injury. He is listed as questionable for Game 5.
Yeah, which definitely will hurt. I mean, if he's not there, Phoenix should win this.
Oh, yeah, you would think so, because I don't remember the exact statistic, but somebody read off the statistic of playoff games when LeBron's playing, Anthony Davis is not. I don't remember the exact number. I just know it's below 500. So they need Anthony Davis in that lineup, especially with LeBron being as banged up as he is.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. The Lakers got their chip, so you can't say, the season's a bust.
Right.
They already got their chip last year. The fact they're going back and the fact they're scrapping as much as they are to get here shows how good this team is.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a matter of, can Phoenix put it together to close them out? And Chris Paul and company are doing what they can do.
Chris Paul putting up like MVP-like numbers.
Well, yeah. I mean, he is playing with house money because there's no pressure on him.
Oh, God, no.
There's none. But he is that guiding force that has helped the young team, more importantly, Mr. Booker, to become the superstar that he is.
Yeah.
So for them, they're playing with a chip on their shoulder and a lot of disrespect. And you know what? That's a good place for them.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see how it plans out.
Yeah. So none of the conference semi spots are locked up. So moving over to the Eastern Conference, you've got the 1-seeded Philadelphia 76ers taking on the 8-seeded Washington Wizards. And currently, Philly is up 3-1.
Doc Rivers is making magic happen there.
Uh-huh.
I mean, he has reinvigorated that whole squad. Embiid, with some injury issues, though, does worry me.
Yeah.
The guy is MVP talent, but can't stay on the court. And it doesn't matter what you can do on paper. You got to be out there.
Now, so getting some love the last couple of games from Triple H and D-Generation X.
Oh, yes. Well, he's getting in there, and he's paying a little homage.
I thought that was great.
I can't be mad about it because, you know what? It seems like the first time in a long time Philly's having fun.
Especially Embiid.
Yeah, Embiid is finally embracing the playoffs, and he's embracing the role that he's in.
Yeah.
He's just got to stay healthy. Knee fatigue, I believe, was the injury that they were trying to say.
Could be.
That's not good for a big man.
No. Case in point, see Greg Oden.
Yes. Not saying we're comparing, but
see when you hear knee injuries and it's a big man, it's not good.
No, it's definitely not.
I'm going to skip the next matchup because, it's a certain team from New York, and I'm going to leave that one for last just to torture Ken. But you've got the 3-seeded Milwaukee Bucks, who were taking on the 6-seeded Miami Heat, and Lord have mercy, they done swept them. 4-0. Milwaukee moving on, first team in either conference, moving on to the next round of the playoffs.
Milwaukee needed that win bad.
Uh-huh.
And that was a statement series.
Apparently, Miami Heat playoff time is only good in the bubble?
I don't know, but this is a good thing if you're a Bucks fan. Not that your team swept. Your team finally looked like an elite team.
And let's face it, it was only close for one game, and that was the first one where it went into overtime, and they won 109-107. But for the rest of the series, they won Game 2 132-98.
Mm-hmm.
Yo.
Yeah.
Game 3, they won 113-84. Yo. And then Game 4, which is the clinching game, they won 120-103. Yo.
They finally got their crap together.
They broke them and made them humble.
Yeah. And that is something Giannis and company needed to do because, let's face it, this is a make or break for that team. If you want to talk about a team, it's chip or bust. They have to win it. They cannot sit there and go bounce in the first round or bounce in the second.
Yeah.
If they do, that's a team that's going to get imploded.
Oh, yeah.
Mark my words.
Oh, yeah. Well, and they were very sound defensively, obviously, based off of the scores I just read. But the Heat's leading scorer was Goran Dragic, who averaged 16 points.
Yeah.
Like, what? And in case you're curious, Jimmy Butler, 14 and a half.
Milwaukee shut him down.
Yeah.
Which is wild. because especially with how good this team was in the playoffs. Miami, listen, I'm not saying they played with house money last year, but this year the expectations were higher.
I think it was a case like you see a lot with other sports where like the expectations were low. Nobody figured they'd get anywhere, so they sailed through the playoffs and won and damn near won the whole thing. But it's a case of, all right, you snuck up on everybody last year. Unless you really adapt and change and rework some things, you're not going to do it again the second year, and that was what happened.
Yeah, so Milwaukee, smart move. And, of course, it's looking like they're facing my second favorite team in the East.
So the next who they're facing is whoever wins this matchup, which is currently the Brooklyn Nets, who are the 2 seed, going up against the 7-seeded Boston Celtics. And currently Brooklyn is up 3-1.
Well, if Brooklyn doesn't get out of the first round, it's a bust for them. Listen, I'm just hoping Milwaukee comes with that same intensity and shuts them down.
Yeah.
Because if Brooklyn doesn't win a chip, the super team is a bust.
Uh-huh.
Completely, top to bottom.
Yeah.
Sorry, there's no wiggle room. You have James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant.
Yep.
There's no room for error. It's a chip or bust. And if you don't win a chip, you're screwed.
I was like, Christ, what was the bonkers bizarro stat I saw the other night that like Harden, Kyrie, and Durant combined for like 100 and something points themselves? Like, what the crap? That was absurd.
It's something absolutely wild about that. I mean, when Irving's on, like, he can definitely get the ball going.
I mean, if Brooklyn gets through, and let's face it, there are no certainties.
Yeah, let's just...
The only certainties in life are death, taxes, and, well, insert something else of your own joking accord. But... You know, there's no certainties, but it looks for all intents and purposes that Brooklyn's going to get through, so pencil them through. Milwaukee's going to have a tough challenge going through if Brooklyn does get there, because currently, as we record, Kevin Durant is averaging 34 points a game. James Harden is averaging 26.3 points a game, and Kyrie Irving 24.8 points per game.
Yeah, so they definitely have got the ball rolling in their favor. And this is not going to be an easy thing for Milwaukee. I'm just saying if this is going to be Milwaukee's time to run, and it should be, they got to cash in.
Yeah.
They have to. I believe there's one more series left to talk about, isn't there?
That would be the 4-seeded New York Knicks taking on the 5-seeded Atlanta Hawks, and currently Atlanta leads 3-1.
Okay, so I know I messed up the man's name in the beginning of the show, and it was kind of done on purpose because I don't like the disrespectful talk he was saying. So, Clint Capella from the Atlanta Hawks, and Pat's going to go get some stats for him, decided to say an egregious comment at an interview going into this possible game-clinching series. Mm-hmm. They're trying to play tough, push our guys around, and talk shit, Capella said. But we can do that too. We shove them as soon as we can come back here that we can do that, and we can push these guys around. You want to talk shit as well? So what are you going to do about it? And we'll get the win, so what are you going to do about that? And he basically said, we're coming to your home to win this game and send you on vacation. I get a message from Coach Duffy while Pat is doing the segment, and it just says, unleash the Kraken. So Coach is fired up.
Uh-oh.
And I'm going to say this. Julius Randle had better come out and drop 30 in this Game 5.
Like he needs to because he's currently only averaging 16.8.
He needs to get fired up because these were all shots directed solely at him. And I'm not saying that he is deserving of this, but let's face it. He is the face of this current New York Knicks team. He is the guy that won Most Improved Player of the Year.
Yep.
He is the guy that is the pace setter for the Knicks. Tom Thibodeau's squad has come out this series, and he has yet to come out of the starting gate to be that guy. Mm-hmm. He is definitely looks, and this is just my opinion, he looks very, very overwhelmed by the moment he's in.
Yeah, I mean, say meanwhile, a 31-year-old, not anywhere near what he used to be, Derrick Rose, is your leading point scorer.
Yes, Derrick Rose is literally giving everything he can in his banged-up body to the Knicks.
So he's doing everything short of what Udonis Haslem did and throwing a chair.
Yes. He might wind up doing this because obviously things got a little testy at the end of Game 4 in Atlanta because the frustrations are building up, and I know there was a little hard foul that was done, and we saw a little back and forth going on between the teams. And I just want to say the Knicks had better come out with this intensity because, let's face it, Game 2 was amazing because the Knicks finally showed that lifeline. Game 3, they got punched in the mouth. Game 4, Listen, the fact that Danilo Gallinari, I'm getting so worked up I can't even say his name right, is hanging on the wing and nailing shots like he's Larry Bird in the prime of his career and lighting you up is a problem. Trae Young is getting every call in his favor. But guess what? He's also killing you coming right down the middle. And nobody's putting a body on him. This is why you're in the hole you're in. RJ Barrett has had an abysmal series as well, too. But Randall is the one everybody's looking at because he's...
Barrett's young.
But yeah, but that's what I said. But Barrett is still young. He's still coming into his own. Is he a bust? No. But he is still young, and coming into your first playoffs, you really got to develop quick.
In case you're curious, Clint Capella, who we mentioned at the start of this game, 9 points a game, 2.3 blocks, 0.3 steals. Let's see here, 1 assist, 13 rebounds. That's 10.5 defensive, 2.5 offensive, 50% free throw percentage. So he's got that going for him.
You have 9 points, and you're actually talking trash. Stop. I'm sorry. You cannot say this. Like, if Trae Young does it, okay, Trae is dropping 30 a night.
I'll say Trae is averaging 27.5.
Yeah, like, okay, I can understand that.
This is like Tony Snell saying something, and by the way, he's averaging 1.5.
Yeah, you can't do that. And I'm sorry, you're going to fire up the Knicks. So this is the challenge is going to be. It's obviously it's do or die for the Knicks. If they lose, series is done.
Oh, yeah.
They need a statement game this week. They need Game 5 needs to be a lights-out blowout. They can't have room for error. They need to play hard New York Knicks basketball. I want to see those guys drive into the net because when Randall is getting weary and throwing up these bad time jumpers, somebody on that team has got to be the go-to and drive it right to the hoop and set that pace. Derrick Rose is doing that. But we're seeing that since they switched him and put him in the starting lineup, even though I'm not mad that he's starting over Peyton because he should have been doing this a while.
Right.
Peyton. But I understand that they're trying to watch his minutes. I get that. But somebody on that team other than Rose has got to be the pace guy, and they got to set up. And Randall is supposed to be that guy. So you know what? Drive right to the hoop, get fouled, and get your shots in. It's that simple. The fact that you're getting all these bad jumpers instead of just driving in is a little wearisome. But you're now getting disrespected on your home turf by a guy dropping 9 a game. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
That's the challenge. I know there are people in the New York Knicks organization that do listen to this show, so I hope this gets back to them. Show up. You need to ball out. This is New York basketball. This is not something that they'll forget about in a week. The fact we got to the playoffs is huge.
Oh, yeah.
But you need to get energized by that crowd at MSG and while out and ball your absolute minds out. Whatever happens Game 6 is Game 6 because there's more pressure on the Hawks.
Mm-hmm.
Because let me tell you this. If the Knicks win Game 5 and Game 6.
Game 5 at home, Game 6 in Atlanta.
If they win Game 6, it's a wrap. Because Atlanta will have choked. Because Atlanta cannot let this go past Game 6.
Oh, so yeah, they're not going to want any part of that crowd in the Garden. Game 7, potentially their first playoff win in Christ knows how long. I'm not going to look it up. I'll be here all day. You know, that crowd is going to be raucous, to say the least.
Raucous is putting it mildly. Game 7 in New York City is a whole other beast unto itself. Trust me. There is something about playing in a...
Christ, that game would be on a Sunday, too.
Yeah. And you're going to tell me that that game is not going to be something to absolutely just watch and observe and just see that crowd because, trust me, the Knicks will feed off that energy. You will see some wild stuff in that game because there is something about playing in a Game 7 in New York that is indescribable. And I'm not saying that this isn't the same thing about playing in Boston, like Patriots playoff football.
Oh, sure.
I'm not saying this isn't the same about when the Lakers are in the playoffs.
Oh, sure.
This is just something that certain markets feed off that energy, and certain markets get up for this. This is another situation where if the Knicks let this go to 7, somehow, some way, they're going to wind up pulling that upset.
Well, it's not they let it go to 7. They will it to go to 7.
Yes. And as I'm looking at the current line, the Knicks are favored by 1.5 points. So I'm liking that.
So you're saying there's a chance.
I'm saying there's a chance, but the ultimate test is going to be Game 6 because we have to get there first. And no, I'm not counting my kegs before we tap them, but you have to be a realist about this.
Oh, yeah.
For the Knicks to be relevant in this conversation, they need to have a statement game on Wednesday. If they wind up not blowing the Hawks out of the gym, it's a wrap.
Yeah.
It's a failure.
Yeah.
If they let Gallinari and their other three-point shooters hang at the three-point line and not do a damn thing,
Yeah.
it's going to be lights out, and they shouldn't have been in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah, and the thing, too, is if somehow the Knicks are able to pull this off and get through to the second round of the playoffs, they have announced that they will only allow vaccinated fans into the stands for that second round of the playoffs, which means they will be under the rules put in by the New York State government. They will be able to jam that thing to the rafters.
Yeah.
And you think they're going to be loud for a Game 7 when it might be a little mix of like full sections and not full sections? Jam that garden full with, I don't know how many people it holds for basketball, a couple thousand people, where it's the first second round playoff series in quite some time. They're going to be loud, and people are going to be calling out the next day because they'll have lost their voice.
Oh, it's going to be a wild scene at the Garden. It's going to be a wild scene Wednesday night, but I will say this, it will get ugly quick.
Yeah. Refs are going to need to have their whistles ready.
Yeah, and let's just say something, too, because we should address an elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Fans, because you buy a ticket does not give you the right to run on the court
And be a dick.
throw stuff at players. You're there to watch and be a fan.
You can boo, and you can, hiss and hate a player as much as you want. Lord knows I've got enough players in various sports that I hate. I can't ever foresee myself buying a ticket, to an event where, let's just say, Eli Manning's there. I got no love lost for Eli Manning. I'm not going to root for the guy. I'm not going to root against him. But I can't see myself buying a ticket to an event just to hurl a water bottle at Eli Manning.
Yeah.
I got no love. Like, listen, I'm not the biggest basketball fan. I don't like the Brooklyn Nets, but I'm not going to buy a ticket to a game where the Brooklyn Nets are playing and hurl a water bottle at Kevin Durant. I'm just like, no. That's not why I'm there.
No, and we're seeing a lot more of this creep up lately, which is stupid and it's dumb, and it makes you, the fan, an absolute jackass.
Yeah, and to anybody thinking that, the punishment of them being banned for life from the arena is too harsh. No, you get what you deserve.
Facts.
And if you act like an ass and you act like an idiot and do something that it says on your ticket, don't do it. When you buy a ticket, read the next time you buy a ticket to a sporting event, take the 5 minutes before you're watching the game, read the back of your ticket. You are essentially signing a contract saying you're going to adhere to these rules, and if you don't, you are subject to the punishment of the team.
Yeah.
You can't get out of it like, oh, no, this is my freedom of speech, like whatever you want to say. No, you are agreeing to act a certain way.
Yeah. So if you can't be respectful, don't go to the game. Sit at home. Throw stuff at your TV. I dare you. Throw your water bottle at your TV. See how that works out for you. Friendly advice. That all being said, a lot of NBA action going on. Hit us up on that hashtag ODPHpod, or at Coach Duffy11 on Twitter, because he's down at MSG right now. He's trying to get into the Garden early. He's going to try getting courtside. I don't know how he's going to pull it off. You might see him wearing a disguise just to get close to the cage, or get close to the, I'd say I treat it like a cage because it's like a boxing fight. It's like an MMA fight. But it's going to be something to see on Wednesday night. So definitely hit him up, let him know your picks for the NBA playoffs, and definitely interact with us on Twitter too, at OD Parlay Hour. We got a lot to say, so talk to us. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Have you ever wondered what scotch will make your palate feel like it's just gone on a majestic journey through the Highlands? If LeBron will ever win another ring? Or if the Leafs will ever win another Stanley Cup?
Mike, if they tune in to Scotch and Sports, they're going to find all that out and more. They're going to find out what's souring our scotch, what our next scotch on the shelf is, and our On the Rocks segment, where we debate two topics. You just met Mike. I'm Gertie. We got Suds coming up, and we may be drinking scotch, but our biased opinions don't change no matter how much we've had, and we have quite a bit. We'll even answer viewer questions, so send them in, and if you don't like the answer, well, we'll just have to have another scotch, and we can still all be friends.
We even talk a little, or a lot, of pop culture. Where else can you find hot takes on WandaVision, NFL analysis, and the fact that the Leafs will in fact win the Stanley Cup this year? Answer, Scotch and Sports.
Coming back for the final segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast. Pad, what you got for the local minute?
Got to talk some Binghamton Rumble Ponies news. Looking at the schedule, they're out of town this week, where they're playing in New Hampshire all this week and then into Sunday. But, however, starting on the 8th and running through the 20th, with the exception being the 14th because they're off that day, they're at home for a 2-week series. First, they're playing Bowie. From June 8th through June 13th. And of note, couple awesome promos. You've got Firework Fridays going on. Of course, every Friday while they're at home, they're doing the fireworks series. Saturday, June 12th is Bark in the Park night, so you will be allowed to bring your dogs down to the park. And then starting on the 15th and running through the 20th of June, they will be playing the Portland Sea Dogs. And then a notable promo running that run through is on Saturday, June 19th. It is Jeff McNeil Bobblehead Day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so definitely give those a check out. Times and information on bingrp.com.
And a quick shout out to our guy Johnny Moose at Excite Wrestling. He has tentatively said that August 7th will be Excite Wrestling's first real show at the X in 17 months.
Hey.
So a lot of stuff is happening with Excite Wrestling. So if you're into pro wrestling, that's the spot you want to go to. ExciteWrestling.com for more information, or check them out on Facebook, Facebook.com/Excite Wrestling. So let's round the bases and take the show home, Pad.
Got to talk about one thing. Not real much going on this week. And no, it's not baseball for once.
Huh?
Jake Paul has his next opponent for a boxing match.
Oh, Jesus.
It's not Manny Pacquiao. It's not Floyd Mayweather. It's not Ken, although I think he'd like to at this point.
I'll throw hands with him. Shit.
His next opponent will be former UFC champion Tyron Woodley.
Really?
Yep. So the boxing match is scheduled for later this summer. This is according to ESPN.com. They both told the site. It will be a 190-pound match. Is currently slated for August 28th, according to sources to ESPN. Several host cities are still under consideration, though an official announcement on the date and location is expected shortly. Reading from the article, quote, the fight will be a pro bout, Jake Paul's fourth, Woodley's first, and it will be contested in a 20x20 ring with 10-ounce gloves. The event, which will be distributed by Showtime, will air on pay-per-view. Fans are expected to be in attendance, sources say. The bout was first reported by MMA Island. So he's actually going to get an opponent and not somebody who's like a former athlete or somebody who isn't really a boxer.
Couple things. One, Woodley had better knock him out. I'm just saying. If so, I don't want to see Woodley fighting, period, after ever again. The fact that this is still going on is still mind-blowing to me in this aspect.
Listen, it's a draw, money-wise.
It's a draw because people are doing it, like, I want to say in a weird sense, like Conor McGregor.
Yeah, it's a draw until he loses.
Well, that's the thing.
Because once he loses, we'll see where it is. But let's face it. It's like you said, it's early Conor McGregor. A lot of people are watching because of the mystique, because of the aura, because of the trash talking, and they want to see him lose. There's people who want to see him win. There's people who want to see him lose. The tell will be what the pay-per-view buys are and what the numbers are after he loses.
Yeah.
Because if he loses his fight and then he goes on to face somebody else that's not a major, like a Floyd Mayweather or a Manny Pacquiao type of thing where it's like, okay, yeah, it's going to draw numbers because of the name. But if it's another MMA guy, we'll see how it draws.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing about it, that you have to get somebody in there that is a draw that can fight.
Yeah.
I mean, Woodley is Woodley, former middleweight champion.
Yeah.
So it's not to say that he's not, welterweight champion. He's not a worthy contender. He is. Just at this stage in the game, it's like, all right, what are we doing here?
Yeah, he's getting a paycheck is what he's doing.
Yeah, which, I mean, I'm not mad. Get your money right. I'm not mad that he's getting paid, but it's like at the same token, it's like, is he still considered an elite fighter? Because the one thing that they're doing is you're boxing versus MMA. There is a slight difference. This is why you've never seen a boxer successfully fight in an MMA cage.
Facts.
James Toney, Randy Couture, enough said. I mean, you can go through the lineage through time. This is just something that doesn't make a lot of sense to me, and I want to see, okay, what will you do against a guy that is really a guy that is a boxer?
Yeah, and I mean, Woodley's recent record, at least with MMA, not anything really to write home about. In 27 professional matches, has a record of 19 wins, 7 losses, 1 draw, and he lost his last 4 fights in a row. He has not won a MMA match since he beat Darren Till via submission in September of 2018.
Yeah, because you know what the guy I want to see him fight? I want to see him fight Nick Diaz.
Oh, yo.
Because Nick has boxed.
Yo.
Put him in there with Nick. Yeah, let's see how much of that flies.
Oh, my God.
Nick's looking for a fight. You don't need to come back to the UFC. You can go right there and knock him out. Trust me. You want buy rates? Boom.
You got my ass in the seat for that.
Jesus, Mary and Joseph, you can stock him in there. Because I'll even say this. I know it will never happen. He's fighting at what weight class?
190.
190. So give take. Triple G.
Oh, that'll never happen.
I know it'll never happen, but you
God.
know, Canelo.
That'd be like putting a major. That'd be like putting Mike Trout or Shohei Ohtani up against a friggin' little leaguer.
I would love.
Oh my God! No.
At this stage in the game, it's like Triple G ain't got nothing to do. He's
I got no
pound for pound one of the best on the planet.
I got no love for Paul, but Christ, I don't want to see him bodily harm.
Oh, I want to see him really stand up. If you really think you're a boxer, right?
Yeah.
Use some guy that really thinks you're doing the sport. Go up against some guy. Like I said, Triple G's been flying under the radar since he was egregiously robbed after he beat Canelo twice. At me on Twitter about it. I'll talk all day about it. Put him in there against somebody like that. Like I was going to say, like put him against a boxer that's up and coming. If you really think that he's the next big deal, I'm sorry. He's not. He just ain't the guy. I would love to see it, though. But we'll kind of have to wait and see how it shakes out. Because if Jake Paul wins, it's like, okay, well...
Who's next?
Who's next that's a real boxer? Because you can fight all the MMA guys that you want that are on the back end of the career.
Yeah.
You know, let's face it.
Yeah, no, it is. Ben Askren essentially retired from MMA, fought this, essentially retired from this. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Nate Robinson essentially retired from basketball.
Yeah, I mean, what's Nate doing in there anyway in the first place?
Getting money.
That's what I say. You want to get your paycheck right? Sure. It's a freak show because you're not a boxer. You're not trained to be a boxer. You're doing it now because you're doing the celebrity boxing. But then again, notice the word I said, celebrity. So put him against some real competition, and I'm going to start tweeting that out now.
The only good thing about those fights is Snoop Dogg on commentary.
Yeah. The only thing that would make it better is, no, I don't even want to throw that karma out there. Because if he came to the wrestling match, and I said if you wanted to fight the king of the death match, Nick Gage.
Oh, fucking hell.
I know Matt Cardona does not want any smoke. I don't want any smoke because I freaking adore Nick Gage.
Yeah.
So that's why I said MDK all day, baby. Yeah, enough said. Enough said there. Everybody needs to watch GCW. That's all I'm going to say. You can watch the king of this because he is the freaking man. So for my base, we're going to keep it UFC because I want to talk happy things. And returning to our airways after 3 years is The Ultimate Fighter.
Hey.
So now it's going to be returning on ESPN and ESPN Plus. This show is what really got the UFC off the ground, in my opinion. Now, obviously, the UFC has had a very unique history from its time of inception to now it's become a legitimized sport in this crazy, crazy world we live in.
Yeah.
But this is the show that really got it into mainstream eyes, and when it had a bunch of fighters coming in that you had no idea who they were, and arguably one of the greatest fights in MMA history, Stephan Bonner versus Forrest Griffin won, fighting for a contract. They put themselves through absolute hell to get there. They delivered on the ratings when it was on Spike, and it really set this show and this organization into the stratosphere. It's scary to think that we have now had 28 versions of this show, and is absolutely been some must-watch TV if you're an MMA fan. Pad, now you've seen the show over the years?
A couple instances, yeah.
What would you say is your favorite season?
The one where Chael Sonnen was in Brazil because he almost died. He almost died.
That was a wild one, him and Vanderlei.
Yeah, because for those who don't know, Chael insulted the entire country of Brazil, and they wanted to kill him.
Yes. Chael as a coach was an amazing coach too, by the way.
Oh yeah.
I think he might have been my favorite coach of all time. My favorite season, bar none, season 3.
Okay.
Tito Ortiz and Ken Shamrock.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That was a freaking wild season. And of course my favorite fighter came out of that. Michael Bisping.
Oh, yeah.
So I have been a fan of the show for a long time. There's been some great seasons over the years. And
some great moments. What was it? Tito scrapping with Chuck.
Yep. I mean, that's happened. Yeah. I mean, you've had Rampage versus Rashad Evans. You've had John Jones and Chael.
Yeah.
And that was a little wild season, too.
Yeah.
You've had some unknown fighters come in there and really make a name for themselves. None bigger, in my opinion, than Kelvin Gastelum.
Facts.
Yeah. You've had a plethora of talent come through there, and if anybody is anybody in the MMA world, they've gone through the Ultimate Fighter one way or another. Even we had Ronda Rousey versus Misha Tate.
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
That was a good season too. There's been so much that can definitely get a career started, and this is why it's so important to the fighters to win the contract. Over the years, we've seen fighters win six-figure deals. We've seen in one season they get title shots after they've been out of the business for a while, and no bigger win, in my opinion, in tough history. Matt Serra over GSP.
Oh yeah,
and the upset heard around the world. I don't think there's been arguably a bigger upset in MMA history.
I don't think so.
Arguably. The show is definitely something to watch. This season's coaches are Alexander Volkanovski and Brian Ortega. So obviously you know they're going to be fighting for the featherweight title later this year. Developing a little bad blood from what I've heard.
Uh-oh.
So, I mean, I really didn't know.
To be expected.
Well, it makes for the best TV. You need to get your rivals on there. If you can get your rivals on for a season, it will definitely make for a lot of highlight moments. Like I said, Rashad versus Rampage, that was something. Shamrock and Tito, that was absolutely bananas. I mean, when you've had Chael and Vanderlei, that was something as well. And plus, once you get the fighters in there, too, I mean, Season 1 definitely stands out for the best class, I would say.
Oh, yeah.
But not to sleep on the BJ Penn, Jens Pulver class, too. That produced a lot of great fighters, too. So many great fighters. Definitely hit us up on the hashtag ODPH Pod. What was your favorite season? Who was your favorite fighters come out of the UFC Ultimate Fighter program? Because it's going to be returning now, and we'll have to see how this new crop shapes up and who's going to be the next big stars to come out into the UFC. That all being said, the music you heard on this episode of the ODPH is out of Brian Wolf. Now, he's got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he's taking a little break from the Wednesday Patreon shows for a little bit. But if you want to find out about everything going on with Brian, where do you go, Pat?
ODPHpodcast.com.
Right on. You swing on over to the music section. Check out everything going on with him. Tom Jolu, Second Suitor, Yard Party, Shout at the Robots, Floodlands, all the great music you hear on the ODPH. Then you swing on over to the directory, which has friends of the show. You can check out all organizational links supporting Black Lives Matter and all the amazing pod groups we are in. So shout out to Podchaser and the list that we are on, because it's the aPODalypse, it's the Inner Circle. We are in so many. It takes me a second to remember them all. But that's why I just say I want to shout those two groups out, because they're definitely making a lot of moves. And then you can also swing on over to Parlay Points, check out the blog section of the show. All of that, the TeePublic show store link is right up there too. So if you want to support the show, no better way to do it than check out the TeePublic store and go get yourself a Parlay Club shirt. The hottest shirt selling in independent podcasting. Just going to put that out there, folks. All of that and so much more at odphpodcast.com. That's all I got for this week. So for the one and only Padawan J.
Fuck the Astros.
I'm your host, Ken M. Knicks, show up or shut up. That simple. Thank you as always for listening to the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. See you next time.